3 spine-chilling true stories of haunted cruise ship nightmares that were revealed and exposed. Eliza had worked her fingers to the bone. Nights spent under the fluorescent lights of the nursing home had worn her down, but she'd finally scraped enough cash together for a week-long cruise. Her 2 children, Ava and Noah, bounded towards the gleaming liner with delight. Eliza held on to that happiness, the laughter of her kids drowning out the exhaustion that draped over her like a heavy blanket. But as they boarded, an eerie chill slithered through her, whispering warnings she couldn't yet comprehend. The ship soon left the harbor, the sun setting in a blaze of oranges and reds, masking the haunting stories embedded in the vessel's past. What were once joyous giggles and bright smiles quickly turned into uneasy chuckles as they roamed the corridors of their new floating home. The pristine halls echoed with memories, but there was something off. Shadows flitted just beyond their view, and the sounds of children's laughter danced eerily, even though all around them were the faces of strangers. "Did you hear that, Mom?" Noah asked, his eyes wide, curiosity piqued. Eliza hesitated, the hair on the back of her neck prickling. "It's nothing, sweetie. Just people having fun." But as the evening wore on, the atmosphere twisted. Soft whispers wrapped around her, calling from places she couldn't see. The night's excitement faded into an ominous backdrop that Eliza tried to ignore. It turned suffocating with every chill running up her spine. The crew announced a midnight scavenger hunt, and though the kids glowed with eagerness, dread curled at the edges of Eliza's thoughts. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Her heart raced now for a different reason. The race of the scavenger hunt wasn't just fun, it felt dangerous. When she turned, Noah had slipped away. Panic coursed through her veins. "Noah!" she called, her voice echoing in the vacant hallways. The voice of a routine safety drill crackled overhead, just a pulse beneath the ship's surface of pleasure. Walls seemed to close in as she sprinted through spiraling passages. Her breath quickened, darkness lurked, and shadows morphed as if alive around her. Each twist and turn revealed abandoned spaces, old uniforms, mementos of lives swallowed by the ship. A sense of dread gnawed at her, igniting the fight within. She stumbled upon a tattered log, detailing disappearances, and a captain known for sinister links to folklore whispers of the restless haunting the hull. "Noah!" she cried again, isolating herself deeper into the ship's labyrinth. Just when despair threatened to swallow her whole, she heard his faint voice, like a lifeline. "Mom!" Her pulse thundered in her ears, dread coiled tight in her chest as she turned toward the alcove where his voice resonated. She pulled him close, relief washing over her like a wave, until a shadow loomed behind them. A crew member stepped into view, eyes gleaming in a way that chilled Eliza's soul. His grin seemed like a mask concealing a sinister truth. "Such a lovely night, isn't it?" he said, but his voice trailed off into something darker, something ancient with stories of darkness wrapped in mirth. Eliza's heart thundered, panic engulfing her. She gripped Noah's hand, their earlier joy now tainted with terror. Panic surged again, ignited by a rumor whispered among tourists, an entity lurking in the depths, waiting to drag the unwilling below. Would they escape the clutches of the cursed ship before it claimed them? The crew member stepped closer, a slow, deliberate movement that felt predatory. Eliza's heart pounded violently in her chest, each beat echoing a frantic warning. "What do you want?" she stammered, her voice teetering on the edge of control. "Just making sure the scavenger hunt remains interesting," he replied, his smile stretching unnaturally wide. It was an invitation wrapped in malice, and Eliza felt every fiber of her being scream to flee. She pulled Noah tighter against her, whispering, "We need to go, now." The deck around them was bustling with laughter and shouts, but it felt like a world away. Each cheer echoed like a distant memory, blending with the threatening whispers that seemed to rise from the depths of the ship. Deep within the creaking wood, something responded, almost alive. It filled every corner of her mind with dread awaiting, watching malevolence that fed off their fear. Gripping Noah's hand, they dashed down another passage, the shadow of the crew member fading just out of view. But behind them, laughter morphed into a cacophony, a perverse chorus of delight. Eliza's stomach churned. She turned a corner, leading them toward their cabin. The thought of safety was a flickering candle in a storm. As they dashed through the hallway, the lights began to flicker. The sensation of hands reaching out from the walls clawed at her sanity. Ghostly faces materialized in the shadows, twisted and angry. She clutched Noah even tighter as they stumbled into their cabin, slamming the door shut behind them. "Mom, what is happening?" he whispered, his voice small and terrified. Eliza, suddenly feeling both protective yet helpless, knelt before her son, forcing herself to breathe. "I don't know, Noah. But I promise, we'll find a way out. We just have to stay calm." Tremors rattled the walls, and low growls echoed through the cabin, primal and insistent. Eliza made her way to the window, slowly parting the curtains. She peeked outside, hoping for a reassuring glimpse of the stars, but the ocean was darker than midnight. The water churned, an unnatural roiling that seemed almost sentient. Dark shapes swirled beneath the surface, hinting at horrors hidden just out of sight. "Noah, stay close," she whispered fiercely. The laughter from outside intensified, mocking them, echoing from hallway to cabin with an electrifying energy. Suddenly, the room was filled with a chilling silence. No more laughter. No more sounds from the hall. Just darkness pressing against the door. Eliza's breath quickened. What were they to do? Then, a soft tapping came at the door, light at first almost a playful invitation but quickly escalating into a frantic pounding, as though something wanted in. Each knock sent shards of ice through her gut. "Mom!" Ava's voice came from the other side, pleading. "Let me in." But this didn't feel right. The voice was wrong, too different, too distorted. It twisted her heart into knots. "No," she murmured, conflicting emotions swirling. Ava was still in the scavenger hunt. She couldn't be here. With resolute instinct, she blocked the door, turning to Noah. "We have to escape this ship." The final threads of logic slipped from her grasp. She swung around, searching for a way out. The ship felt alive, every shadow whispering encouragement to stay. "Mom!" The knocking intensified. "Please. I'm scared. This isn't Ava." Eliza shouted, panic fueling her. It's something else." Noah's eyes widened as the sound morphed into laughter again, dark and chilling, swirling around them. The ship shuddered as if it held its breath, waiting for their next move. Eliza's heart sank. In the depths of the unknown, something terrible was waiting for them. Would they discover more than they'd bargained for? What horrors lay hidden beneath the surface of this cursed giant? She took a shaky breath, the weight of dread heavy in her chest. Together, they moved towards the door, uncertain and terrified. It was time to confront the nightmare, but first, they had to decide, what secrets would they uncover? And who or what was really knocking? Eliza hesitated at the door, her pulse quickening. The hollow banging resumed, relentless, a sinister rhythm that crawled under her skin. "Ava?" she called out, though doubt gnawed at her resolve. Noah clutched her leg, his breath shallow and quick. "Maybe we should just open it, Mom, maybe it really is her." He looked up at her, wide-eyed and hopeful. "No," she said firmly, her mind racing. "It can't be. Ava wouldn't sound like that." But the knock seemed to pulse in time with her heartbeat, each thud a reminder of her helplessness. The air grew thick with tension, wrapping around them like a vice. Outside, the ship remained silent, too silent. Eliza carefully pressed her ear against the door, listening. A low, guttural laughter slithered through the cracks, dark and taunting, wrapping around her like a cold fog. "Noah, we need to find another way out," she finally declared, her voice trembling but resolute. She took a step back, pulling him with her. "The window, it's our best shot." They stumbled towards the small portal, the darkness within the cabin pressing against them with a tangible weight. Eliza yanked the curtains aside, ready to break the glass if necessary. But the sight beyond filled her with dread. The ocean was in turmoil, waves crashing violently, as if something vast and powerful lurked just beneath the frothing surface. "Look!" Noah pointed, eyes wide. She followed his gaze, her breath hitching. Dark shapes loomed beneath the water, shifting and twisting like something alive. With every crash of the waves, the water glowed faintly, revealing indistinct, horrifying forms, a mass of limbs, eyes, and gaping mouths transforming in the depths. Eliza staggered back, a wave of nausea crashing over her. "No! No!" she gasped, her hand fumbling on the wall for support. Fear clawed at her throat as she turned back to Noah. "We can't stay here, honey. We need to head toward the emergency exit at the end of the hallway." Eliza steeled herself. Her instincts screamed at her, the urge to protect her child surging forward. Gripping the door handle, she paused. It remained eerily silent. With a swift turn, she flung the door open and stepped into the corridor, pulling Noah close. The corridor was darker than before, stretching into a yawning abyss. The flickering fluorescent lights cast grotesque shadows that curled and twisted against the walls. The mocking laughter was gone, replaced by an ominous hum that reverberated through the ship, an uncanny echo, like the mournful cries of lost souls. "What's that?" Noah whispered, his hand shaking. "It's okay," Eliza whispered back, though her heart raced. "It's just the ship." Echoing footsteps broke the silence. They were deep, distorted, as if something enormous moved through the bowels of the vessel. The walls trembled in response, and a low growl rumbled from somewhere above, shaking Eliza to her core. "Mom!" Noah cried, eyes pooling with fear. "Stay close!" she snapped, urgency fueling her. They pressed forward, racing towards the emergency exit at the end of the hall. Each step felt heavier, as though the ship itself was reaching out to stop them. As they neared the exit, the air grew colder. A thick layer of dread settled around Eliza, heavy and suffocating. With each turn, the shadows seemed to watch, waiting. There it was again, the sound of frantic knocking, now echoing from the closest cabin. "Eliza!" A familiar voice screeched, warped and sinister. "Eliza!" "Noah, run!" she screamed, dragging him behind her as they sprinted towards the exit. But she felt it, an energy shifting in the air, a dark essence swirling around them, whispering to the deepest fears buried within her. What waited for them beyond the heavy door? Would they make it out, or would they become another whispered tale lost within the haunted depths of the ship? As they reached the door, Eliza grabbed the handle, feeling the icy metal bite against her palm. An unholy wail erupted from behind, freezing them both in place, paralyzing with fear. "Mom, we need to go!" Noah cried, his voice barely a tremor. And in that moment of frozen terror, two paths loomed ahead, one filled with escape, the other crashing back into darkness. With a burst of adrenaline, she turned the handle, ready to face whatever lay beyond. But was it truly freedom, or just what the darkness wanted? Eliza yanked the door open with all her strength. The chilling sound of metal grinding against metal echoed through the corridor, a warning and a promise entwined. Light spilled into the darkness, revealing an emergency stairwell that spiraled downward. Eliza's heart pounded as she stepped through, pulling Noah in behind her. The air in the stairwell was heavy, thick with an unnatural dampness. It felt alive, pulsating, as if it held its breath, waiting. They hurried down, the faint hum below echoing ominously. Each step felt like a lead weight, their footsteps swallowed by the creeping darkness. "Where are we going, Mom?" Noah asked, his small voice trembling, a stark reminder of his fragile state. "Anywhere but here," Eliza replied, her voice barely above a whisper. She shot a glance over her shoulder, praying there was nothing lurking behind them. The ominous sounds had shifted to something worse, the echoing footsteps were muddled by a sloshing sound. Something was moving in the shadows. As they descended, a flash of pale light flared around them, illuminating an open door to the left. Eliza hesitated. Should they explore, or keep moving down? The light flickered again, beckoning like a ghost from old legends. "Mom?" Noah's voice pulled her back from the edge of decision. She could see his wide eyes, filled with both fear and curiosity. "Stay with me," she commanded, firm yet gentle. The gentleness was a mask over her rising panic. She felt it coil inside her, an instinct that screamed to stay away from the light, which only raised more questions. Before she could move, the door swung open, almost as if it had been waiting. Inside was a musty room filled with old furniture, dilapidated chairs and dust-covered tables. A single set of large, cracked windows revealed the storm outside, lightning illuminating the chaos of the ocean. But what stole her breath was the photograph hanging directly across the room. It was a picture of a family. A woman stood with 2 children, one of them looked uncannily like Noah. The resemblance sent ice coursing through her veins. "Noah," she breathed. "Do you see that?" The boy stepped closer, peering at the photograph. "Mom," he said, eyes widening. "That looks like us." Her heart sank. "No, it can't be." But even as the words left her mouth, doubt crept in. The hair, the smiles, the way the boy stood, uncertain yet hopeful, it mirrored Noah's stance beside her. A sick feeling churned in her stomach. Just then, the unsettling sounds from the corridor morphed into something crystalline. Sharp laughter echoed from beyond the open door, haunting and familiar. "Mom, we should go," Noah said, taking a step backward. The reverberating laughter grew louder, a taunting melody that wound its way around them, squeezing Eliza's chest. She spun on her heel, determination flooding her veins as she recalled their objective: escape. She needed another way out. They turned sharply, retracing their steps toward the stairwell. But as they reached the door, a figure loomed just beyond the threshold. A woman, dressed in a tattered dress, stood eerily still, her face obscured by shadow. From where they stood, Eliza couldn't see her features. Instead, raw hostility radiated from the woman, laced with despair. "Eliza," the woman's voice was a twisted echo of Ava's "Join us." "No." Eliza screamed, pulling Noah close. Heart pounding, she shoved him toward the stairwell. Lightning flashed again, illuminating the figure's face, and it sent Eliza reeling. The resemblance was undeniable. Ava's frantic, pleading eyes looked back at her. But the image shifted, contorted into something monstrous. The door slammed shut behind her, leaving them in ghostly silence. "Mom!" Noah cried. They bolted down the stairs, each step plunging them deeper into darkness. "We need to get out, we need to get." A deep, rumbling growl vibrated through the walls, cutting her off. It shook the very foundations of the ship, a reminder of the looming presence that wanted to trap them, crush them. They rounded a corner with urgency, desperation fueling their strides. Would they make it to safety, or would they be consumed by the grinning shadows that hunted them? Eliza's heart raced, every instinct flaring, when she caught sight of another staircase, a chance, another way down. As they approached, a foreboding shadow shifted within the depths, bearing fangs as wide as the doorframe. Eliza hesitated. Was this truly an escape route, or simply another trap laid out for them? The growl roared louder. "Mom!" Noah tugged at her sleeve. With no time to think, they dove forward. What lay below? Had they chosen wisely, or had they sealed their fate, plunging straight into the heart of darkness? They plunged into the next level, breathless and hopeful. The air below them was colder, sharp like ice against their skin. The dim light hanging from the ceiling flickered, casting jittery shadows that lurked in the corners, taunting them. Eliza felt her stomach twist with every step, fear whispering chills down her spine. "Where are we, Mom?" Noah's voice trembled, each syllable echoing ominously. "I don't know, baby." "Just stay close," she said, gripping his hand tightly. As they moved further down the corridor, the growl faded, replaced by a soft, rhythmic thumping, like a heartbeat. It resonated through the air, a low and haunting sound that prickled her skin. Eliza stopped, scanning the dark walls, which felt like they were closing in on them. "What is that?" Noah whispered, his eyes wide, reflecting the dim light. "I don't know." The sound grew louder, almost becoming melodic, like a lullaby meant to soothe the frightened. But there was nothing comforting about it. She could feel the walls vibrating with the rhythm. Her own heart raced in panic, sinking with the eerie beats. "Mom, I'm scared," Noah whimpered, pulling at her. She turned, ready to reassure him, but a shape darted in her peripheral vision. Eliza spun around, her breath catching in her throat. A figure stood at the far end of the corridor, shrouded in shadow, almost melding with the darkness. "Who's there?" she called, her voice firm despite the fear coursing through her. The figure remained still, but the heartbeat pulsed stronger, almost mocking her courage. It took a step forward, revealing proportions that were both human and distorted. A twisted imitation of a child, with hair that fell in tangled strands and eyes that glowed with an unnatural light. "Noah, back away!" Eliza screamed. But her warning came too late. The thing lunged, and Noah yelped as he stumbled backward, nearly falling. Eliza reached for him, but a cold hand shot out from the shadows and seized her wrist, icy fingers sinking into her skin. Pain shot through her, sharp as a knife. The figure leaned in closer, and she could see its face, a warped reflection of her own child. Join us," it chanted, voice dripping with malice and mockery. "Noah!" Eliza cried, pulling away, desperately trying to escape the creature's grasp. The thumping grew frantic now, matching the panic that swelled inside her chest. The walls appeared to breathe, expanding and contracting around them, as if the very ship was alive, searching for them. She threw herself towards Noah, wrapping an arm around him. They turned to flee, but the passage seemed to stretch indefinitely. Each step felt heavier than the last. Where was the exit? Suddenly, a door appeared, bathed in a sickly green light. Hope surged within her. This had to be it. She pushed against Noah, urging him forward. "Come on. We have to go." They burst through the door into an expansive room that smelled of salt and decay. The wailing wind whipped outside, crashing waves sounded like thunder against the hull. In the center of the room stood a table covered in old artifacts, broken toys, ripped photographs, and something that looked like a tattered diary. "Noah, look!" Eliza pointed, her heart racing not just with fear but intrigue. He stepped closer, drawn to the diary as if it were calling to him. "Mom, it's just like ours." "What?" Her voice trembled as she neared the table. The diary lay open, pages yellowed with age, scrawled with words that made her skin crawl. "They let us in, now we belong. Noah, get back!" she shouted, panic surging again. The lights flickered, plunging them into complete darkness. Eliza's heart thundered as whispers danced around her, filled with promises and threats, twisting her mind. Then, she felt the cold presence creeping back, wrapping around her like a cloak. "Join us," it hissed again, closer this time. But there was no choice. They wouldn't take her child. "Noah!" She reached out, fighting against the encroaching shadows. But as she turned, she saw the boy no longer at her side. "Noah!" she screamed. The darkness roared, and all she could see were fleeting glimpses of twisted faces, reaching hands, beckoning her to join them. Would she fight enough to escape? Or would she too be consumed by the vessel's hungry embrace? Eliza's heart sank into despair as she felt it closing in, felt herself slipping away, lost in the storm of darkness. What happened to Noah? What horrors awaited those who dared to venture into the depths? The ship's secrets loomed larger than she could handle, and soon nothing but silence would follow. Eliza's pulse raced as she clawed through the darkness, the air thick with sorrowful whispers that swirled like mist around her. The voices echoed in her mind, crying out for something she did not understand. Was it Noah they wanted? Was it her? Noah! She shouted again, desperation clawing at her throat. Her heart pounded like a drum, matching the chaos swirling in the shadows. She stumbled forward, her hands outstretched, searching for something solid to cling to. The cold atmosphere felt alive, pressing against her with every gasping breath. She felt eyes watching, countless pairs, hidden in the suffocating dark. Panic bloomed in her chest, flooding her thoughts with visions of endless night, of her son lost to whatever terror crept around her. Suddenly, a soft glow flickered to life just ahead. It was a faint light, barely breaking the shroud of darkness. Eliza darted toward it, hoping for a way out, for any glimpse of her son. As she reached the edge of the brightness, her heart sank even further. Before her was an open space that looked like a derelict lounge, long forgotten by time. Chairs lay overturned, their fabric torn and frayed. The remnants of past celebrations' party hats, balloons clung to the walls like ghosts of happiness now lost. A chill ran down her back, the shadows here felt deeper, colder. Noah, she called again, her voice trembling. Then, at the far end of the room, she saw something move. An indistinct shape, huddled in the corner. Her breath caught in her throat, fear clawing at her gut as she edged forward. As the figure came into view, she gasped. It was another child, pale and ashen, with wide, hollow eyes. It looked like a mirror of Noah, twisted and weary. "Help me," it rasped, a sound like cracked glass, breaking the silence. Eliza froze, caught between horror and instinct. "Noah?" But the child didn't respond. Instead, it pointed a bony finger towards the far wall, where an old mirror hung, cracked and clouded. Eliza turned to look, her reflection blurring into something monstrous. Whispers surrounded her once more, voices rising in a dreadful crescendo. Then she saw it. No, she felt it first, the icy fingers of something pulling her closer to the mirror, like a malevolent tide. "No! Get away!" She screamed, pulling back, her heels scraping against the rotting floor. The force behind her was relentless. She fought it with everything she had, clawing at the floorboards, but the shadows surged, engulfing her. They weaved in and out, laughing, whispering, as if she were the guest at their terrible feast. She had only a fleeting moment of clarity. The mirror was a portal, a window to the dark desires of the ship, hungry for souls. A place where the lost lingered, grasping for those who dared to cross its threshold. And then she heard him. "Mom!" Noah's voice echoed through the din, a desperate call that pierced her heart. "Noah!" she shouted, breaking through the fog of dread. Eliza surged forward, propelled by the sound, battling the shadows that tried to claim her. "Noah, where are you?" Panic painted her words as she sprinted past the ghostly child and toward the entrance of the room, twisting around columns of darkness. The pounding of her heart drowned out the whispers as she fought through, each step heavy, but fueled by pure determination. "Eliza!" Came another voice, this one deeply familiar and reassuring. It was Noah, clearer now. "Noah!" Tears streamed from her eyes as she rushed forward. She was so close. She could sense him somewhere, tangible and warm, pulling her through the darkness. But as she turned, the ground ripped away beneath her feet. She fell through a gap, meeting shadowed water below. and it dragged her down. Sinking into the void, panic clawed at her throat. She had to find him. But even as she thrashed in the suffocating depths and fought to keep her head above water, darkness wrapped around her, whispering promises of despair. This was not over. Would she find Noah, or would the ship claim them both? The depths of the ship held secrets darker than she ever imagined, and she was about to uncover them, whether she liked it or not. What lay waiting in those depths? Unspeakable horrors or salvation? With every heartbeat, the answer grew closer. Eliza fought against the oppressive darkness, her arms thrashing in the stale water. Panic seized her lungs, and every instinct screamed for her to surface, but the weight of the abyss pulled her deeper, wrapping around her like cold, unforgiving tentacles. No! She couldn't drown here. Not now. Not without Noah. Each desperate kick felt like it sent her limbs deeper into some invisible whirlpool. The whispers swirled faster, rising to a fever pitch. Eliza's world narrowed down to just one thought, one echo: Noah. She clawed upward in frenzied desperation, ignoring the numbing chill engulfing her. In an instant, the darkness shifted. The depths transformed, rippling like a disturbed pond. A flicker of light emerged from somewhere beneath, pulsating like a heartbeat. Eliza focused on it, urging herself onward, pushing through the choking despair. With a final push, she broke the surface, gasping for air. Her vision was blurry, but the light danced before her, illuminating her surroundings. Glistening trails of water streamed from her hair and body, but something was off. She wasn't alone. Shapes emerged from the shadows. Figures tall with gaunt faces and hollow eyes, like the child from the lounge, now surrounding her, their mouths moving but soundless, as if she plunged into a muted nightmare. Their gazes locked on her, an unholy hunger smoldering within. Eliza swirled around, disoriented. She had to escape. But the water shivered beneath her, as though it had a life of its own, pulling her slightly toward those shadowy figures. Involuntarily, her heart quickened. Was she to join them? The thought alone sent a shaft of terror through her. Then, above the din, another cry pierced through the silence. "Mom!" It was Noah's voice, laced with both urgency and fear. Eliza spun toward the source, her heart faltering at the agony laced in his tone. "Noah!" The shadows shifted, their once haunting forms melting into the dark water. She pushed forward now, swimming as fiercely as she could toward the voice that called her. With each stroke, shadows flitted around her, trying to grasp her, but she swerved them off, propelled by the love for her son. The watery landscape became turbulent, like a storm at sea. Eliza felt the weight of something oppressive above, threatening to pull her back. She could see a vague outline ahead, an opening, perhaps a way out. Through the chaos, the faint glimmer of hope beckoned her. "Noah!" she repeated, voice strained but steadfast. She surged toward the light, fighting against the current. Desperation lent her strength, each movement geared toward reaching her son, pulling her through with all she had left. Then the ground beneath erupted in bright light, blinding. Eliza squinted, gasping as she was flung upward, pulled into the light and simply dropped. With a thud, she landed on solid ground, disoriented and gasping. The world was eerily calm around her, a stark contrast to the water's chaos. Only then did she realize the figures were still here, gathered close at the edges of her vision, whispering in their wordless chants. "Where are you?" she croaked, eyes darting around the room. The shadows hummed with anticipation, and panic flared up inside her once more. She turned around, hoping to see Noah, but the light dimmed and flickered. She felt a chill worsen in the air, an impending dread enveloping her, a warning that whatever lay ahead was not done with her yet. As the light faded, Eliza's heart sank. The shapes began to close in, whispering promises of a fate she couldn't begin to understand. Would she ever hold Noah again? The darkness thickened, pressing against her resolve. From somewhere in the shadows, a voice rose higher than the rest, strong, unwavering, echoing through her mind like a whisper of fate. You shouldn't have come here, Eliza. What had she awakened? What lay ahead in the shadows she dared not face? The answer loomed, closer than she realized. The shadows hissed, their whispers intertwining like tendrils of smoke, swirling around Eliza. The air felt thick, stifling, as she fought to reclaim her sense of reality, but the grip of fear was relentless. They moved closer, their hollow eyes glinting with an unsettling light, as if they fed on her terror. Noah! She cried again, her voice echoing off the damp walls. It felt like a misplaced promise, one she might never fulfill. Each moment stretched into an eternity, and the shadows narrowed their formation, an unyielding wall of despair. Do you hear him? One of the figures whispered, its voice a rasping caress against her ear. He calls for you. But this place, it demands a price. Eliza's heart raced. What do you want? The panic clawed at her throat as she stepped back, her feet slipping on the wet ground. She couldn't fight them, their very existence felt like a cruel trance. The figure stretched a skeletal hand toward her, pointing to the murky depths behind them. He is closer than you think. All you have to do is surrender. Surrender? The word twisted in her mind like an unholy spell. She thought of Noah, of his innocent laughter and bright eyes. Would letting go of her fight mean losing him forever? The thought felt like ice in her veins. No. She shook her head, anger fueling her defiance. I won't give in to you. With that affirmation, the figures flared at her, their faces transforming into grotesque masks of rage. The air crackled with a sudden, palpable fury, and the darkness around her seemed to pulse. Each whisper turned into a wail, an anguished lament that rattled her bones. Suddenly, the ground beneath her shifted. A slick, treacherous surface opened up, revealing a strip of deeper water. The pull was formidable, a relentless surge attempting to drag her back. Eliza stumbled but stayed upright, her mind racing. She had to reach Noah. Memory surged within her, the image of his small face brightening her world. She couldn't let whatever was lurking in these shadows take him from her. Pushing forward against the tide of chaos, she yelled, Noah. The darkness shuddered at her defiance. It rippled with frustration, the whispers rising into an angry crescendo. Then, an echo returned, clear and haunting. You shouldn't have come here, Eliza. The familiar voice chilled her to the core. It was Noah's. But it sounded distorted, twisted by anguish. Mom. Please. He called again, tears embedded in his words. The fear drenched Eliza anew, fueling her desperation. As she fought against the nearly overpowering tide, she caught a glimpse of another light, faint but persistent, a pathway leading deeper into the shadows. Clenching her teeth, she took a step towards it, but a dissonant chorus of screams erupted from the figures encircling her, the discordant cacophony grasping at her heart. No! You can't go! They pressed in, their fingers reaching for her, cold and grasping. Each attempt to wrench herself free only fueled their rage. Noah! She screamed, as new strength surged through her. The figures recoiled momentarily, startled by the fervor of her love. She closed her eyes, focusing all her energy on the bond that tied her to her son. As she pushed toward the light, the whispers transformed into a tortured howl, echoing with anger, but also what was that? A hint of fear? The brightness flared as she took another step, wrapping her in warmth, pulling her from the darkness. And just before she plunged fully into the gleaming sphere, a realization pierced through: the shadows weren't just hungering for her. They feared her. Come back or lose him forever, one voice hissed, dripping with malice as she felt their weight press down on her. With a sharp intake of breath, she lunged forward, diving into the welcoming light. Would it lead her to Noah? Or into an inescapable void? Whatever lay ahead, she wouldn't surrender. The fight had just begun, and in the distance, she heard Noah's voice again, softer now, trembling but insistent, "Mom, help me." Eliza felt a rush as the light enveloped her, erasing the shadows that clung to her like a second skin. A vibrant warmth filled her, wrapping around her heart, urging her forward. But with every heartbeat, the whispering voices retreated, only to shriek louder from the darkness behind her. Each pulse of light sent a shiver through her as she glimpsed what lay ahead. The brightness began to fade, revealing an expanse that felt both familiar and terrifying. She stood in a dimly lit room, its walls lined with peeling wallpaper. The scent of mildew hung heavy in the air, sapping her resolve. The room was empty, but not silent. The echoes of Noah's voice lingered like a ghost, intertwining with memories of laughter. "Mom, help me." She took a step forward, heart hammering. Noah's calls grew distant and distorted, like a radio struggling to find a station. Panic surged through her again. She couldn't lose him. Not now. Not ever. "Noah!" she shouted, her voice colliding against the walls. Silence swallowed her words, and for a moment, Eliza felt utterly alone. In that stillness, a flicker caught her eye. A shadow snaked across the floor, slithering toward a door at the far end of the room. Fear crashed over her like icy water, but adrenaline forced her legs into motion. With every step, the air thickened, as if the room itself held its breath. As she reached the door, a shattering scream erupted from behind her. Spinning around, she was met with writhing forms emerging from the shadows. Their ghastly faces twisted in mockery, their jagged teeth glimmering in what little light remained. Eliza, one rasped, its voice dripping with discontent. "You can't escape us." Her grip on the doorknob tightened. She had to persist. Noah's voice surged back, sharper now, more desperate. "Mom. Please. I'm scared." In that moment, something snapped inside her. Every grain of fear turned to raw determination. Shoving the door, she burst through into darkness, embracing the unknown. The world shifted again. She stumbled, landing on her knees in a place that felt like a graveyard. Tombstones loomed, casting long shadows under a waning moon. Each monument bore names, etched with sorrow and despair. Her heart sank as she read those familiar names: friends, family, bereaved souls claiming a piece of her heart. Why were they here? "Noah! Where are you?" she yelled, terror hammering at her chest. But only the wind replied, a chilling whisper that echoed elusively among the headstones, beckoning her further. Riddled with doubt, Eliza pressed on, feeling watched from every corner. The night wore heavy with secrets. Then she caught sight of a flickering light ahead, a small glow that pulsed in the darkness like a heartbeat. Climbing to her feet, she moved toward it, but as she drew closer, the shadows gaped wider, revealing hidden faces twisted in grief and malice. "Noah!" she screamed again, the name bursting from her lips as she dashed toward the light. With every tentative step, the ground beneath her shifted uneasily, almost as if it were responding to her urgency. "Mom! Help!" The cry was louder now, resonating through her very soul. Eliza lunged for the light, her body filled with dread and hope intertwined. The shadows shrieked, clawing at her ankles, desperate to drag her back into the abyss. Just inches from the glowing orb, the ground beneath her buckled, tossing her off balance. As she teetered, reality blurred. There was no escape from the past, nor from their haunting grasp. With a final roar that merged with her own, she flung herself into the light, the world around her exploding in brilliance. But would she find Noah? Or plunge deeper into a nightmare she couldn't fathom? As the radiance consumed her, shadows swarmed, their collective whispers echoing a chilling conclusion: "You have chosen, but the price remains." What awaited her beyond the shimmer? Would her son be waiting, or had she entered a realm where hope was just another forgotten whisper? Eliza plunged into the light, and for a fleeting moment, it felt like she was reborn. The brilliance enveloped her, washing through her like warm sunlight after a bitter winter. But as soon as the shimmering glory surrounded her, it vanished. She landed on an empty deck of the ship, utterly alone, save for the cacophony of the relentless waves crashing against the hull. The night air was still, too still, and Eliza's heart raced, each beat echoing in her ears like a war drum. "Noah!" she shouted, her voice cracking under the weight of desperation. She scanned the area, but it was empty, hauntingly so. The ship shifted beneath her feet, as if it sensed her turmoil, and dread filled her gut. Then, from the corner of her eye, she glimpsed movement. Shadows stretched beyond another doorway, tugging at her memory. She stepped cautiously, her breath quickening at the thought that Noah could be waiting for her just beyond that threshold. With a pounding heart, she pushed through. The room was thick with dust, decades of neglect layered over forgotten treasures. Flickering lights sputtered above, casting eerie shapes across weathered furniture and a cracked mirror at the end of the hall. In the reflection, she saw herself disheveled yet determined. "Eliza," the voice echoed, soft yet commanding. The shadows swirled, growing restless. "Noah!" she cried, pumping adrenaline fueling her resolve. She rushed toward the source of the sound, forcing her legs to run harder. "Help me!" A chill coursed down her spine. The voice was close now, piercing through the gloomy haze, tugging her deeper into the heart of the ship. Ground felt unsteady beneath her feet, twisting, bending, as if the boat itself conspired against her. "Eliza!" The whispers blended into a frantic chorus, growing louder with each step. "Join us!" "No," she whispered fiercely, shaking her head to clear the heaviness of the shadows enveloping her. Each echo of Noah's voice pulled her back, reigniting her purpose. She veered into a small room filled with remnants of the past, photographs and belongings scattered like memories left behind. On a dusty table lay a small toy car, the very one Noah had cherished. Tears brimmed in her eyes, she grabbed it tightly, clutching it in hope. "Noah!" she yelled again, fierce in the belief that she was close. As she spun around to leave, shadows coalesced, pressing against her. They lunged forward, but she wouldn't surrender. Her heart raced, fury igniting a fire in her chest. With each footfall, she fought the darkness. Everywhere were hints of disarray, broken doors, disheveled rooms taunting her with ghosts of all that had come before. "Noah!" she called out, summoning every ounce of strength. "Mom!" His voice sliced through the haze, she felt it deep, like a lifeline. Eliza propelled herself forward, nearly losing her footing as she turned a corner. There at the far end of the corridor, she spotted him. Noah stood, his face pale yet filled with hope. "Mom!" he cried, rushing toward her. But just as they were about to collide, the shadows surged once more, rising up from the floor and gripping him. Join us, they taunted, their chilling refrain sending icy tendrils through Eliza's heart. "No!" She moved forward, fury igniting within her. "Get away from him!" Eliza reached out, fighting against the shadows that attempted to snatch him from her grasp. A blinding light enveloped her, blurring her vision. She could barely see, but she felt the warmth of Noah close to her, drawing strength from his presence. "Mom!" he gasped. "Noah, hold on to me!" Eliza shouted, grasping his hand with relentless determination. Together, they pushed against the shadows that battled them, their fingers intertwined like a lifeline through the storm swirling around them. With each step, the darkness emphatically shrieked, twisting and wrestling against their every breath. "We won't let them take you!" Eliza shouted, her heart engulfed in raw defiance. With one final burst of courage, they dove toward the flickering light up ahead. The shadows raged, surging furiously, but aligned with the force of their bond, they leaped across the threshold, breaking free from the prison of darkness that had enveloped them for too long. As they landed outside in the shimmering moonlight, the ship shuddered, rattling around them as a deep groan drifted from below. But for the first time, Eliza breathed, feeling the cool evening air fill her lungs. "Noah!" she gasped, pulling him close, feeling the lingering warmth of his small body against her. "You're safe. I thought I lost you," he whispered, tears glistening in his eyes, and with those words, all the terror began to melt away. As dawn broke, illuminating the horizon, a powerful wave surged towards them, washing away the remnants of the night's horrors. "Let us go home," she murmured, embracing him tightly. The ship creaked behind them, but now it seemed almost sorrowful, like a titan bidding farewell to its prey. Eliza held Noah's hand tightly and together they stepped toward the life awaiting them beyond the haunted horizon. As they made their way back to solid ground, the sun rose higher, scattering the shadows, defeating the darkness that had once enveloped them. The nightmare had come to an end, and though the scars would remain, they had emerged victorious, alive. They would cherish every moment together, thankful for the love that had brought them through the abyss. Noah smiled up at Eliza, innocence returning, and she knew without a doubt that they would never again underestimate the power of light over darkness. She took a deep breath, knowing the journey was far from over, but they would face whatever awaited side by side, ready to embrace a new dawn. And if you've made it this far, don't forget this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next amazing story. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this intense conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this incredible video with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling ending. Let's keep building our community together.